out at Broken World, but also laying out some philosophy for the future, how we can fix this mess we're in and have a great time doing it all with a mean age. Welcome back, everybody, to Mean Age Daydream. I am Brian McWilliams, your beautiful host. And yes, I've returned from the Libertarian National Convention, where I, of course, was running the communications and doing so much more. I did everything from giving introductory speeches to people like Gabriel Shipton, who's Julian Assange's brother, and a fantastic guy, by the way, to bouncing MAGA Young American for Trump assholes out of aisles. And let me tell you, those people, a-holes. Some of the biggest POSs I've ever met in my life were actually at the Libertarian Convention this past weekend. Quick funny story is I had put Reason Magazine, who was there, Zach Weissmuller was covering it with the video crew, and we're trying to get everybody in, set up, right, so Secret Service could check their stuff and get them all locked up and locked in for the event. And I open up the barrier, put Reason Magazine in front of this tiny fat orc and her child, who I felt very bad for, and then closed it. I said, I'm really sorry. I need to get my media into the room. And this fat little turd goes, hey, F you. No, I'm not cursing early because algorithms punish you for cursing early in these episodes. So you'll imagine she said the whole thing. But she goes, hey, F you. What the F? In front of her kid, who's probably 12, 13. A girl who looks like she was, I don't know, I'd describe her as the lesbian persuasion, but the kid was clearly embarrassed. Mom, stop. And I'm like, what? She goes, he starts cursing me out again. And I'm like, you little piece of you-know-what. So I actually wanted to get security to kick her out. And I would have if I had had a half second to actually go out and get them. I did have Secret Service talk to her, and they were like, look, are you going to be a problem? I told her that she was a piece of garbage, and I said, way to really make an impression in front of your kid. I felt bad for the kid, to be honest. More than anything in that situation, I felt really bad for the kid and having this piece of garbage mother cursing me out for daring to put a reporting crew of 2 people in front of her getting into the Trump event. But anyway, welcome to the show. I'm going to break down what happened at the convention. So I've got an insider's perspective here. I'm going to tell you what went down, how I think it went, the media and dealing with the media, dealing with Trump's team, as well as RFK's team, and what I think the fallout of this is going to be. Now, considering Chase Oliver is our candidate, who I'll talk about that at length. He's not my preferred candidate. I'll discuss what that looks like. Does it matter? How does it matter? And the bigger issue, which is we may have Chase in place, Chase in place 2024. But more importantly, we have Angela McArdle in place. So let me break all that down, what it was like, and also what, again, this fallout might be, not just for the Libertarian Party, but for Donald Trump's party. So before I do that, though, if you guys would be so kind, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Make sure, give us a review. Nobody's given us a review on frickin' iTunes in a year. Do me that favor. Give us a 5-star review if you'd be so kind. It does help with the algorithms. And make sure, if you want to give more, if you want to hear more, go to patreon.com/Lions of Liberty or lionsofliberty.locals.com. We also have just launched a new Telegram channel so we can chat with some of our subscribers, as well as some of our Pride level people on the $10 level and up if you want to have some direct contact with us. So, on to the show. So in the run-up to the Libertarian Convention, right, Angela and I are discussing this, Trump and RFK speaking. Now, you've heard me talk about this on some other episodes. And yes, for those of you out there that don't know, that might be tuning in for the first time, I am the Director of Communications for the Libertarian Party. I've been in this role for about 8 months. And I've been dismayed by how difficult it's been to get mainstream press to cover anything about the party. The biggest opportunities have come for us when they were interested in what RFK was going to do. Obviously, he's a famous name, Kennedy, right? Famous name, famous family, a lot of political sway. So our best opportunities came when RFK flirted with the party or trying to tie into some other issues. Trump going to court, we bashed some certain things. We put out a press release about how Joe Biden and Mitch McConnell should both be basically put into the old folks' home and put into a conservatorship. We get press from those types of things. But when Javier Milei who has done unbelievable things in Argentina. Whether you think he's a CIA plant or not, whether you think it's going to work out or not, he's taking the risks, and he's really out there proselytizing for a libertarian viewpoint. He's talking about Rothbard and Mises and Hayek, and he's really getting the concepts out that we advocate for. I can't get them to even talk to us in this country about Javier Milei because, frankly, they don't want to. They don't care about our point of view. And it becomes a necessity, if we're going to get our message out, to try to do so in unorthodox ways. Now, this leads us to Donald Trump speaking at the convention. This leads us to inviting RFK and Biden. Of course, Biden, too much of a complete and utter coward, a senile delinquent, which is, oddly enough, the name of my father's podcast, The Senile Delinquents. Go check his podcast out, because I'm gonna send him this episode. He and I were talking about Donald Trump yesterday, and he's still so fired up about me telling him that Donald Trump fucked up that he sent me an email this morning, because he is a supporter of Donald Trump. But Joe Biden turns it down. Trump and RFK accept. Now, this for us is a fantastic thing to have happen, because it gives us the opportunity to bring the world's eyes upon us. As quoted in the New York Times, because Angela was so busy, I had to take some interviews. We're denied a place on the debate stage. So it's up to us to bring the world's eyes to us on our stage, which is what we did. Donald Trump coming and speaking was an absolute good for the party. Now, you can find people that might decry that, deny that, but when the end of the day comes, the Libertarian Party got more eyeballs on it in this past 4-day period than ever in the history of the party. By far. It's not even comparable. Every mainstream media outlet was there. Now, not only are they there covering the event and covering the fact that Donald Trump got booed, which was the guide rails to what I thought were going to make his speech better than it was. And I'll go into that momentarily. But they were there in force. Everyone. We had 400 media there. We had, when are we ever going to have live coverage direct from the Libertarian National Convention? And not just for Trump, for RFK as well. A lot of people came for RFK's speech. We're doing live from the convention floor, talking about RFK, talking about our process of electing delegates. They're doing reports from the convention floor. Now, part of this is that it was in Washington, D.C. You have media captured there. You have the, Thomas Massey, who I got to meet, really sweet, nice guy, of course, brilliant guy, introduces End the Fed. He's there walking the halls, meeting and greeting people. That's something that you can only have in D.C. So we have the eyes of the world on us, and the Libertarian Party for one moment, well, I should say one 4-day moment, and honestly, it's continuing to get coverage now, even to who got elected from a candidacy perspective. We were the center of the world of politics. Now, this is vital because people don't know who we are, what we stand for, which is something that we are working on right now, intricately. That brings us to Angela McArdle. Now, Angela McArdle, our chair, was reelected. That is so unbelievably vital to the future of the party, to basically remolding what people understand as the Libertarian Party, the priorities we have, and the accessibility, the inspiration. I've talked on this show before about what I'm working with her blessing, with the blessing of the current LNC committee, the Libertarian National Committee, which, by the way, has been, for the majority, retained and added to the people that are running it right now, which is the Mises Caucus, for, whatever you want to call it. That's not solely them. There's people that are also, from the anarchist side of things, from the emo caucus, from the different caucus. But the point is, the old guard does not hold sway anymore in the party. It's a new form. And I would have frankly flat out resigned. I would have resigned from the party. I don't know whether or not I would stop paying my dues or not if Angela was replaced with some old party guard or some left-leaning party member. I probably would have severed ties completely. The beauty of her being there is that we can see through what we've started. The new website, the new messaging, the new campaign ads we're putting together for plug-and-play candidate access, where they're going to be able to take professionally made, professional grade, which has never been done before, advertisements where they can have the branding for the party, and then you plug and play for your local candidate, right? Guy comes in, I'm Gary, whatever, from Tennessee. I'm running for blah, blah, blah. Here's my 30-second pitch within the broader context of a branded advertisement. Here's 10 seconds within a 30 seconds piece that they can use, plug and play. That saves an incredible amount of money. It's never been done before. And it's going to have based messaging in there, core principled messaging. We've eradicated a lot of this woke lefty bullshit that was pervasive in the party. But that doesn't mean that there aren't a ton of the old guard still in the party trying to take it back. So what happened with Chase Oliver, who I am, again, not my preferred candidate, but I'll circle back to the Trump effect in just a moment after I finish talking about Chase, because it ties into the Trump effect. Chase Oliver is not my preferred candidate. But I, of course, have a position where I have to support him. It's a direct conflict of interest for me if I denounce Chase Oliver, because I'm working for the Libertarian National Committee. I'm working to promote the party. And despite Chase winning the nomination, which I'll give you some inside baseball on in a moment on why he won, and the self-implosion of another candidate who was, it would have been neck and neck. And honestly, I think he probably would have won if not for this. But, you know, Chase Oliver getting that nod was a combination of the fact that he put an unbelievable amount of time, money, branding into going to every single convention, you know, state convention, online presence, very active and very well known. He had run a campaign where he got a good amount of the vote in Georgia. And he's beloved by the old guard, which includes a lot of people that were formerly from Democratic left, people that are really focused on the issues of, you know, anti-racism and, inequality, which fine if you can be anti-racist, but these people took it to a new level. And one of the famous fallings out in the party was that after the Mises Caucus took over, this asshole faction had circulated a petition demanding that everyone sign it, denouncing bigotry in all its forms. Just stupid, left-leaning, meaningless garbage. Has no point or policy in it. And it was essentially trying to force people into signing it and bending the knee, or into refusing to sign it on principles, saying, I'm not going to sign, I'm not racist, I'm not going to sign your stupid piece of paper, and then using that piece of paper to try to attack them, which is exactly what they did, and which Chase Oliver did, if we're being perfectly honest. He called the Mises Caucus, he called people that were in leadership at the LNC racist, bigots, which is completely unfounded. But that's a classic tactic of the left, and Chase is, without a doubt, a leftist. But, you know, he's still got some principled views. Of course, he's got problems in that he went out and talked about how everybody should mask up and get vaccinated. He talks about, the issues on his views on transgenderism are problems for many of us. That being said, we'll see what he does during this campaign. It's going to be hard to hide from those past opinions, past statements. The internet lives forever, and the internet is undefeated in bringing things to the forefront. But the problem is he will hopefully focus on his positives and get past the negatives. Now, the bigger issue with Chase, though, who I will support his good policy platforms, and from a national perspective, obviously, it's our duty to make sure that he gets as much of the vote as possible. The thing is, we had Michael Rechtenwald, who was the Mises candidate, put forth, and I think she would have won. We had a press conference after Donald Trump spoke at the event, and I'm saving the Donald Trump stuff for last because it's a very, very, it's a big topic, and I want to talk about some of the play into that, also with the seating and the delegates and how it was a shit show from the get-go. Not anything having to do with our fault, which I'll explain. But the problem is Michael Rechtenwald was running, and we did a press conference directly after Donald Trump spoke. Now, Rechtenwald apparently took something. He claims he did take an edible, and you could tell visibly when we did the press conference, which I had to run. I'm on stage trying to run it. Whenever we have Michael Rechtenwald speak, he was off, odd, not answering the questions, taking long pauses. I had to basically chastise him twice because they were asking questions from the media, and Rechtenwald's not answering it. He's just giving stump speeches. And twice I had to say, Michael, answer the question. You don't come up here and give a 5-minute stump speech. There's nothing to do with anything. Answer the question, please. So he then, after a few questions, gets up there and goes, I don't know why we're talking about Donald Trump and answering these questions about Donald Trump. It's like, well, he just spoke here. That's one reason. You're running for president. You have this opportunity. Again, we've captured the world's media. You now have a continuation of media asking you questions from the Washington Post, from the Boston Herald, from Politico, from the New York Times, whatever it might be, the gaggle we had at that stage at that time. But not only that, You also had about 200 libertarians who had stuck around after the Trump speech, maybe more, maybe 300, just to hear our presidential responses to Trump. So you're not just speaking to the media, you're speaking to the delegates who are going to vote for you. And instead of seeing this out and giving his opinion in a coherent manner, he goes, this is boring, I'm leaving the stage. And he fucks off and leaves the stage. That killed his campaign, flat out. Now, Dave Smith, who I love Dave Smith, the part of the problem, give him a big shout out. I loved hanging out with Dave at the show. Dave Smith has taken a lot of flack for his decision to run and then pull out for family reasons. And frankly, as a father of two young toddlers, well, one toddler and one, I guess, little girl, 4, I understand completely. It's the same reason I've been approached by some people in the party here in California to run for governor. I'm very open to it. If I'm being perfectly frank, I'm open to it. I'm fucking furious with what has been done with California, and I think I can make an impact. But I'm not ready to do that right now for the same reason that Dave Smith wasn't. There's no way for me to do that in any real fashion without drawing an unbelievable amount of attention to me, the family, my wife, her business. And think about the fallout of that in the midst of having 2 little kids is a lot. It's a lot. Unless you have, nannies out the ass and happen to be fantastically rich, it's very difficult to take that on. So Dave Smith has taken a lot of the onus on himself to say, this was my fault because people thought I was running and I thought I was running until I pulled out. And then I left people scrambling to replace me. And Michael Rectenwald, stepped up, did the best he could in the time allotted. And Rectenwald has run a decent campaign. He got good exposure. He was on Timcast. I don't think he was on Rogan, but he's on a good number of places saying the right things. He's an intelligent guy. But the problem was he wasn't necessarily that charismatic, number one. And Chase is, whether you like him or not, he is charismatic and he's well-spoken, despite my differences with him philosophically. He is charismatic and well-spoken. He puts forth a very good image. He's youthful. He's got energy. He's quick to turn a phrase. And his VP, Mike Trematt, actually impressed me at the convention with how quick he was, how personal he was. So Dave is kicking himself a little bit too hard, though. Yes, he put our side of the fence in a very difficult position, but at the same time, let's not pretend that this was ever going to be anything more than an exercise in branding. The downside of that is that the exercise in branding, having Chase Oliver as the flag bearer for the Libertarian Party, is not ideal because we generated all this press, and that was the point, because we know we have zero chance in getting elected. Zero. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if we got less votes than Joe Jorgensen did. Why? Because there was never a chance. With RFK in the race, polling as high as he is, there was almost never a chance of us achieving that milestone, getting where we would have gotten with the Gary Johnson. And RFK, similar to Dave Smith, by the way, jerked around the Libertarian Party, was flirting with us for a year running up to this, whether or not he's going to do it, never pulled the trigger, and then tried at the very last moment to get the nomination, which resulted in like 2%, which it was stupid. It was an asinine move on his campaign's part. They went through the steps to get to the point where they could make a pivot at the last minute, and his speech went very well, by the way. Smartly, RFK spoke to the exact points we wanted to hear from him, emphasizing where we overlapped, attacking the places that we knew we wanted him to attack. He gave a great speech. That didn't result in him getting more than 2% of the vote, though, because he was nominated for president, and it was soundly rejected. That's on him and his team for fucking us around, for not going out and going to conventions, for thinking, I think, very egotistically, that his name and his presence there was somehow going to carry more weight than it was. Because we are the party of principle, whether those principles align exactly with mine or not. And unless you put the time in to go to the conventions, as all these other candidates did, unless you're on the floor talking to delegates directly and saying, look, I messed up by not putting more time to this earlier. I want in. I can represent you guys. I'm willing to give even more than I have. Unless you're going to do that, you have no chance. And that's exactly what played out. He had no chance. So getting back to Davey Smith, though. So Davey Smith's kicking himself a little bit too hard here because we never had a chance of a victory here, and it's going to be a hard-fought battle to overcome the independents who are going to look to RFK as their number one option, especially with him polling as high as it is. The thing for RFK, though, is that he may not get ballot access. He's got ballot access in 6 or 7 states. The Libertarian Party has at least 38 secured that I know of right now. Now, we're working on getting the latest numbers on that, but we look pretty good as far as getting into, if not all 50, at least something like 48. Because there's certain states that have changed what it takes to achieve that status point. Of course, spearheaded by the powers that be and the 2 major parties, that make it almost impossible for independent candidates or third-party candidates. But that doesn't mean it's impossible. It means that it's just almost impossible. But Dave made the right decision by not running, because Dave would have run, and then RFK is sucking all the air out of the room. And at best, we still are looking at a battle where it's about branding. The branding was important for us to have Trump and RFK speak, because the branding that we want pushed through from our perspective on social media. And again, sadly, we didn't get the website up in time with the new messaging, but we brought the ideas, we brought the world to us. People are Googling libertarianism. It's trending. It's the #1 trending topic. Our Google results skyrocketed through the roof. And we are in a battle just for awareness. Because as I said, getting attention from the mainstream media is almost impossible. Getting people to find us organically is almost impossible. We needed this, and it was an absolute success across the board in every regard. The problem is now that Chase is going to be the flag bearer that runs with that media coverage and what he's going to do, and whether we can accentuate the positive. What's that song? Accentuate the positive, blah, 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 negative. But Dave now does not have to go and, fight a lost cause, Don Quixote style. He doesn't have to go out and fight windmills pretending that we have a shot here. He now can go out in the next election cycle when you have, hopefully, a Trump that is out of the picture, and that presumably will be so unless he loses and runs again. But presumably, you're going to have more fertile ground. And now people are more aware of us, and we can build on this. Because Angela McArdle has been elected again as chair, we have the ability, she and I and their amazing staff on the committee who did an incredible job at this event, we have the opportunity to continue the branding, to rewrite it, to get people more accessible, to make them inspired by what we're doing. That's our chance now. So let's transition to the convention proper. What went on the ground? It was one of the most exhausting things I've ever done in my life. I was up at 6 every morning answering emails, prepping documents, sending them out, on the floor, walking nonstop, because my job as communications director, I'm liaising between the media, I'm writing the press documents, I'm helping with branding, I'm helping with social media posting, I'm coordinating a team. Ben out there, Zhang did a great job helping me out as with the social media stuff, but the rest of our team, Kathy and Andrew, and I'm not going to name TJ, just fantastic. Canyon, all these guys and gals, work nonstop. But I'm running all over the place. I think I walked like 18,000 steps a day. I'm not kidding about that. And then I'm a guy, I'm a social guy. So I would then go out, and while I was like, I'll have one drink and then, call it quits for the day, I'm out till 3 a.m. I'm out drinking, having fun with the boys. Tim Butterly had come in, who is so funny. Tim Butterly, you've probably heard from Legion of Skanks and Dad Meat. And I think he's actually even on the new Tire show on Netflix with Shane Gillis. Tim Butterly's a rising comic talent, fantastic comic, killed it at the Comedy Night set. And of course, Lou Perez was there. Awesome, love Lou Perez. Alex Stein was there. Got to meet him. So I'm going out and hanging out with Tim Butterly, who had a great set and is 100% a libertarian autist. If he didn't know it before, he knows it now. But we're out, me and him and his reps, and Alex Stein came out for a little bit. We're out till like 2:33 in the morning, just getting slammed. And then the next night, I was out with the Blazes' wonderful Gerard Michaels, and just partying with him and his producer, and again out till 3 in the morning. Because I found a hack too, where I'd go down to the receptions later on after the show, and they had drink tickets, but the drink ticket for a bourbon was $16. So I'm like, why the fuck am I going to pay $16 for this drink ticket? I'm just going to go to the bartenders who are getting fucked on tips, because everybody's just getting a drink ticket, they don't have cash, and they can't get change. So I'm just like, I'm just going to give you a 20, and how about you just fill that glass up as much as you want, and you keep the 20. And of course, they fill it with 4 fingers of bourbon, so I'm just getting completely shit-wrecked. And then I wake up in the morning, still hungover, maybe barf in the shower a little bit, get back out there. So exhausting time, but rewarding. And the other fallout from this is we had so many media there, And I had really made an effort, and I got a lot of compliments from the media, which is gratifying, to staying on top of information and access and making it work for them to develop a relationship. Because one of the things that this leadership under Angela McArdle that I'm a part of, we are trying to eliminate the concept that the Libertarian Party is not a serious entity. We're trying to make it that, look, as far as these goobers that are running things before, the goobers are out. There's a new guard in here. We're trying to bring in attention. We're trying to get in professionalism. And I think that we achieved in that. And I've developed relationships with these media now, which is going to make getting access for us for consistent coverage to get topics out and talk about our branding a little bit more and get our media coverage out so people know who we are and what we stand for far, far easier than it was. So anyway, it was exhausting. I'm running around like crazy. Now, a couple of the things that again went down at this convention is RFK's people compared to Trump's people, right? We're talking about dealing with them, access. RFK's people were a nightmare in every way to deal with. His head of press was hard to reach, unresponsive. And when she was, it was difficult to get answers out of her on anything. And they continuously would announce stuff. I'm sure you saw this. RFK announces online that he's speaking at the convention. This is after we've discussed him speaking at the convention. Nothing set in stone. No date. He announces the wrong day and then challenges Donald Trump to a debate. So then we're like, what the fuck, bro? What you don't give us a heads up? You just tweet this crap out? Now we got to deal with the fallout? I'm getting 50 fucking calls because you're screwing up and not going through our channels here? I mean, the lack of professionalism was shocking. And this happened time and time again. His running mate, Nicole Shanahan, who, by the way, looker, can see why she married into billions. And then I guess divorced out of billions, but yeah, hot. I got to meet her. Nice enough broad. Don't agree with her politically on much. But she tweets out, I'm going to be speaking at the Libertarian Convention Sunday. And again, had some talks about this. Nothing set in stone. Again, what the hell? It's so unprofessional. And then not getting the access, it was maddening. And that kind of, you see that in the way his campaign played this whole thing, this whole flirtation with us, just to try to loop in at the last second and get signatures and run and to get 2%. Now you embarrassed yourself. You embarrassed your campaign. The headline is RFK soundly rejected by libertarians with 2% of the vote. Makes him look amateurish. Like, what are you doing? Why would you even bother? Because you fucked up this entire time with your communications processes, your decision-making process. They replaced their campaign leadership halfway through with buffoons. So that's one aspect of insider baseball. I will say this, Trump's team, fascinatingly, you would think that the Trump team would be the ones that would be more abrasive, difficult to reach, harder to deal with. Nothing but professional. You think what you know about Donald Trump himself, right? That you'd expect brashness from these people and an arrogance. His team, nothing but great. Nothing but great guys. I have nothing bad to say about them. Unbelievably professional, absolutely helpful. They made my life a lot easier, in fact, in many ways, just by helping me out with certain aspects of it, documents that I could help send to the media, dealing and liaising directly with Secret Service so that I didn't have to worry about that. Just really helpful. Unbelievably helpful, nice guys. And again, the access points, getting responses from them. These guys have so much going on. And maybe there's a bigger team under him, but it was instantaneous. I send a text, I have a question, I get a reply, call, whatever it is, right away. And I'll give him credit there. There was a couple concessions we made in regards to a few media outlets, primarily Russian and Chinese, that they said, we don't want these guys covering because it's really bad optics. But again, it was a request, not a demand, a request. Hey, if you can give us these, we'd really appreciate it. Say, fine. I don't need the Russian intelligence agency, internal reporting and state media there. It doesn't gain me anything. But when we did push back, like for RT, which we've got a relationship with, they were just like, it's your show, bro. It's your show. And I give them a lot of credit for that. Now, the downside to what happened with the Trump MAGA crowd, I told you about some of the assholes there. The other part of this that's difficult was that we had so many tickets sold, right? Now, we had at the convention alone, we had something like 700, 800 delegates, right? And then you have on top of that, people that are VIPs that paid for tickets, high-level sponsorships. The way the ballroom was set up, you've got your media risers, a big space behind it for press. You've got tables, round tables up front for VIPs and sponsors that were high-level sponsors. Behind that was supposed to be reserved for, we were going to reserve for 500 delegates. They were supposed to get first access, right? Before the general public. What happened was that all the MAGA people lined up. And what happened is we sold tickets because we've got the space. We want to make money off this, right? Not only is this a media spectacle, but it's a money-raising tool for the party, as every convention is. So we sold tickets. You had to get the package, though. It's not cheap. Get the package. Got, I'd say probably something like 400, 500 Trump supporters that came. They lined up. And we had an access line, which was designed to get our people in. The problem was, as libertarians are wont to do, is business went long. Nominations, and we were trying to move up. And this is actually a smart thing to do, is we were trying to move up the nominations for president so that we would have our candidate available after Trump spoke to address the media, to take him on and respond. Unfortunately, because all this voting and nomination process is always acrimonious and takes forever, with that really any party, I think, but probably more so with us. Didn't happen, but extended business to the point where it went beyond the window where we were supposed to get the delegates in. So what happened, and this is a lot of people that were there didn't understand what was happening here. And by the way, I'll never forgive some of these fucking cunts that went, literally trying to find the media to shit on Angela and shit on the party because the delegates didn't get their seating. There were the Trump people that were up in there. And once the people were in there, once you have 500 people into space, very hard to get them out. Angela went up and got them out of the VIP tables at least. But trying to get 500 deep of seating when people are in there was just not going to happen, as much as we tried. And some people did move. We tried to get other people in there. But some people are literally going to the media. Some old bitch from Texas, and I don't regret using that phrase, is up there. She goes up to me because I'm standing next to the media risers, taking some interviews because Angela's just, there's no way to get her out there. She's like, "Are you press?" I'm like, "No, but I work with the press. Can I help you?" And she goes, "Well, I want to talk to the press because we were supposed to get seats in here and all these MAGA people in here, and I want to tell them it's fucking bullshit and fuck the party. The Angela McCarthy's fucking us." And I'm like, "Lady, there's nothing we can do about this. Now, are you just going to try to go up and make the party look bad? Because I'm sorry, you lost your seat. There's not much we can do about that. There's something's out of our control." And I explained to her what happened, which I'll explain to you guys what happened. But this chick was on a mission to make the party look bad. If that's your mission because you didn't get a seat, you're a fucking asshole. Stop calling yourself a libertarian. You're just a fucking asshole. Call yourself an asshole-litarian because you're obviously there to hurt the party. And some of these people were there to hurt the party, for sure. So what happened, all these Trump supporters are lined up. And it became so many, and our business went so long and late, that between the hotel staff and Secret Service, they made a call. And that call was, open them up, let them in. Because frankly, it was the entire lobby filled, going up the stairwells of people trying to get in. So I understand. Did it suck for us? Yes. Was it bad optics? Yes. Should people have been pissed off? Yes. But there's some things that are out of your control. And that's one of them. There's nothing we could do about that. So for all these people that are crying and whining about it and shitting on us and Angela, you know what? Just shut the fuck up. Sorry. There's nothing we can do about that. Okay. So I want to talk about Trump's speech distinctly now. So Trump comes in, and I was talking to my dad about this, and I'm going to send him the link so he can watch this. Because, Dad, you're wrong, and you're... Oh, I'm not going to say this. Because my dad and I were talking on the phone about this yesterday. Donald Trump had an opportunity here. And look, he may still benefit from this, and I'll break that down after I talk about this specific speech. Donald Trump had an opportunity here to reach libertarian voters and to reach voters broadly beyond our convention. That's what people understand about RFK and Trump speaking. Now, I told the media this. I'll tell you guys this, and I'll repeat this for people who are probably watching this for the first time. If you are watching it the first time, welcome. Please subscribe to the podcast. Please subscribe to the channel, etc. The reason they came to our convention was not just to get our libertarian votes. Now, look, there's a lot of sway, especially in swing states, for libertarian voters, and we can make a difference here. And Jeremy Kauffman is actually from the New Hampshire Libertarian Party and the Free State Project. He's actually going to be talking to Odie, probably, I'm guessing, for next episode about this, how he still thinks libertarians should vote for Trump. So there's that faction. But Donald Trump and RFK are talking because what people don't realize is that the population of the United States right now is looking at the uniparty. They're looking at the way they're voting, looking at the way the inflation is processed, the spending bills get pushed through, this nonsense funding wars that have nothing to do with us. Every aspect of what's going on right now reeks of cronyism, reeks of incompetence, and reeks of a complete disregard for the rights of American citizens. You saw that with the vote that just put into, the ratification of the, oh my God, I'm blanking on the name of it now. The new FISA, basically FISA approvals for Section 702. They pushed those through, and that enabled government to spy on you, to redefine aspects of the bill, which would basically enable routers to be considered individual points of contact and internet. I can't remember the exact language of the bill, but essentially that the government can get access to a router at a coffee shop now. There's nothing to stop them from it. Removing barriers to domestic spying was not on the table, apparently, even though people like Thomas Massie, again, tried to fight back against that. So people are seeing that the citizenry of the United States is just getting screwed left and right. They see that the uniparty votes in unison, but there's extremes to the left and right that most Americans don't like. Feel how you want about abortion, but there's extremes to the left that want abortions up to the extent which RFK actually endorsed. Probably another reason why he didn't get more than 2%. There's people on the right that want to deny abortions to anybody. Again, most Americans do not fall in that. But beyond that, people are coming to realize that it's the extremes on the outside, the uniparty vote on the inside, and everyday Americans are left out in the cold. Except that the polls have regularly shown that people want a third party. They crave it. They know it has to exist. And that the questions that never really get addressed, that never really get answered, the concerns of Americans that are going ignored are representative in the Libertarian Party, of our platform, of what we believe and say loudly, even if we're fucking ignored most of the time by the media. This was Trump's opportunity to speak to those people who find themselves in the middle, in, where we reside currently and where people are coming to. And it's up to us to take advantage of that and mold it. The problem was Trump came in and fucked it up completely because he didn't speak to the concerns of the middle of the population as much as he should have. Instead, he kind of fell back on his Trumpy tropes of crooked Joe Biden and yada, yada, yada. Instead of leaning into the positivity of here's what I'm going to do to fix it, Trump instead leaned into the woe is me, lawfare, which I agree, he's getting screwed. But he didn't lean in enough on, hey, libertarians, I hear you. I hear your concerns, which are the concerns of the populace. He spoke fleetingly about inflation, about war. He claimed he never started any new wars, which is true. But as the crowd pointed out, he continued all the biggest wars. He funded and supported the wars in Yemen. He dropped more bombs even than Obama. I think we ran out of bombs at one point under Donald Trump. He needed to provide more of a promise to correct the wrongs that were undertaken during his campaign. He claimed to have somehow, he's a joke, claimed to have somehow undermined the deep state, even though he put John Bolton in there, who's deep state as they come. The CIA regularly ran circles around him. The problem was he wasn't leaning into the strengths, the promise of a more libertarian future. And instead, as soon as things got a little bit acrimonious between him and the crowd, he then attacked the crowd, attacked the 3%, told us, you're losers, you're going to keep losing, you're worthless. This immediately turned the crowd against him and made it into a battle and a screaming match more than it was a chance to find common ground. And I can't express how much the Trump campaign fucked this up by not starting, first and foremost, with the thing that got the biggest cheer. Because Trump did manage to turn it around towards the end by leaning into things like deregulation, by leaning into ending the wars. But he never addressed his role in the lockdowns, his role in vaccination mandates that came out there, his role in pushing the vaccines out the door. This was an opportunity for him to show a little bit of humility. And that would have gone a long way, not only with us, but with the broader population of the United States. You can counterpunch a little bit here and there, but at least start with the strong stuff. He promised to commute the sentence of Ross Ulbricht, founder of Silk Road. That was the number one issue as voted on by our membership. And the premise of this was we gave him 10 topics, said, here's the top 10 topics that we want you to address. Now, he didn't address half of them. That's the other problem. Didn't address half of them. He should have started off right off the bat. I'll pardon Ross Ulbricht, or I'll commute the sentence of Ross Ulbricht, or pardon Ross Ulbricht, Julian Assange, Edward Snowden. Done, done, done. Didn't do that. Saved it to the end. By then, too little, too late. But also, you'll see the guardrails, as I mentioned earlier. What I thought this was going to go differently was because the guardrails of being booed and the red meat that was to your mainstream corporate press, right? 95% of which are very left-leaning. Those guardrails are put into place by the threat of you're not facing a friendly audience. This isn't a MAGA crowd. This isn't a voluntary, everybody's going to buy a ticket and show up to campaign rally in the Bronx, even a sticker shop thing. This is a libertarian crowd who boos their own candidates half the time. So you knew what this was. You knew you needed to write a different style of speech, and they didn't do it. They absolutely didn't do it. They went with the same old Trumpian crap rather than prioritizing getting the things out front that we care about most, getting the crowd on your side. And then maybe towards the end of the speech, you can go into your regular rhetoric about Joe Biden and this and that. But you needed to give a little bit of humility. You needed to give a little bit of service to the lockdowns, to some of the shittier things that were undertaken during your supervisory perspective before you get into, the regular crap. Oh, he also said he was going to put a libertarian in his cabinet, by the way, which I do appreciate. We'll see if it happens after he got booed. My gut instinct is it won't. But still, I was telling people around about this. So, and yes, I see Jason's watching. Trump addressed some of our concerns, Jason, but again, too little, too late, and too much bullshit in between. Again, he got on the wrong side of the crowd so early that by the time he got around to our concerns, it was a foregone conclusion that he wasn't going to have a good speech. It was strategically a stupid speech. Strategically stupid. So, going into the fallout of this, right? What's interesting is that while Trump got booed at this event, which is what all the mainstream media wants to talk about, the fact that Chase Oliver got elected as president's candidate actually still behooves him, right? And the fact that he did promise to commute the service of Ross Ulbricht, should he go through with that and make that an official position, and, he's on mainstream media really committing to it, even though he said he wanted to execute drug dealers, which Ross Ulbricht is not, by the way. And that's, again, completely contrary to a libertarian position because we want legalization. He may have actually benefited more from Chase Oliver being elected, which is, ironic because there's a lot of libertarians that are looking at Donald Trump and his position and his number one promise, if he lives up to it, to commute the sentence. And there were some tweets I saw, and I was saying this myself in the floor of the convention hall. I said, well, Donald Trump's not going to get my vote this cycle. And I live in California, so it doesn't really matter. But, he's not going to get my vote. I do think that it's pretty interesting when he makes this promise to commute the sentence of Ross Ulbricht, that he may, in fact, win over some other libertarians who look at Chase Oliver and the history of masking and the history of, supporting these trans issues and everything else that's more on the left side of things. And they may go, you know what, that's enough for me. Because on the show floor, I told people, I said, you know what, if having a major political candidate, and Donald Trump was the first major political candidate from another party to ever speak at the convention. If having another major candidate come in here who might be president and promise that our number one issue, if they get into office, our number one issue that we care about, which, by the way, there's much bigger issues than commute Ross Ulbricht, but that just happened to win the poll. If we get that every 4 years, that's a fuck of a lot of influence. That's more than we're ever going to have. Well, not ever. That's more than we've ever had. Having that type of power to pick an issue and be able to make that a deciding factor in an election that has to be lived up to, otherwise the next election swing the other way, that's a pretty potent offering. And I think that the offering there and where we're at probably could sway a lot of people to vote for Donald Trump. Despite the performance, remember, the Libertarian Party, as defined by the delegates, is not the Libertarian Party necessarily that exists out in the wild. And I want to make a difference, by the way, between people that, and this is something where I'll give John Ziegler shit over at the Death of Journalism podcast, and I messaged John because I think he completely got it wrong on his show. It pisses me off that people are categorizing the Libertarian Party as it exists today by the delegates and the nomination of Chase Oliver. As I mentioned, we are in a transitory period. Not transing in the way that Chase likes, but we're in a transition period. Going from, as I mentioned, more of a kind of a bleeding heart libertarian perspective, giving a shit about, mouth service, lip service to, we stand against bigotry in all its forms. When you know what? We don't. We don't stand against bigotry or racism because, frankly, under our purview, bigotry and racism are solved by people interacting, coming to free and easy speech, free and open markets, and that, as we've seen throughout history, the best way to get people to agree, to see eye to eye, is to give them opportunities to interact in mutually beneficial relationships, aka market relationships, equal opportunities in education, aka getting rid of public schools and ghettos and subsidies for welfare that keep people locked in golden cages, getting rid of state media that provides divisiveness. It ain't through happy talk about bigotry. So the old guard is on the way out, and you see that with the reelection of Angela McArdle. The thing is, you still have a lot of the old guard within our voting system, our delegate system. And when you have a faceplant like Michael Rectenwald did with this edible situation and basically embarrassing himself in front of half of the voting delegates and in front of the media, you hand Chase Oliver that victory. And that's what happened. But I want to emphasize to the party, or to the people out there that might be looking at our party, while Chase Oliver, I hope, does a great job, maybe he can right some of the wrongs of his past opinions. Maybe he'll bring us in some people that are still looking at Biden or RFK and say, you know what, I want a more permanent home. Even while those people may not be what I agree with, I'm hoping that what we're doing with the party, the broader messaging, our outreach, our communications, our based language in the core principles of libertarianism, what matters, wrapped in a beautiful veneer of inspirational thinking, is going to bring in a fuck of a lot more people. And I've said this before, I'll say it again. As much as I love, quote unquote, pure libertarians were, I can't talk. Pure libertarians, there we go, were a problem in presenting this type of opportunity. What I want is shitty libertarians who believe in the cause, believe in the overarching philosophy, believe in reigning in the government, believe in giving people their freedom, but really are checked out. That's what I'm working towards, because we need the power of that body. Having 700,000 principled autists is not going to win us elections. It can give us some sway, but we need beyond that. We need people that are inspired by the message, that view us as a way forward that hasn't been tried yet. And when it has been tried, it's succeeded in small doses because the powers that be want to stop us from succeeding. But we need shittier libertarians who are willing to join the party, but that are mostly checked out until it comes to ballot day. And that's what we need. And I'm hoping that this put us forward insofar as getting that recognition that people are going to look into the party and see what we're all about. So there you go. All right, guys, thank you for enjoying my breakdown with me, for reliving this convention. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I forgot coming out of the convention. I don't think there was, other than fuck Washington, D.C., by the way. Beautiful city, horrible traffic. And I had a planes, trains, and automobiles moment as I'm leaving the convention, right? A day early on Sunday. Monday is fucking Memorial Day, but half the roads are closed to go to the airport. I'm in my Uber. Every guy, we go like 18 blocks. We can't fucking get to the fucking airport. Eventually, he's like, bro, just hop out of the car. There's a subway station. Get in the subway. So I jump in the subway, get on the wrong train because I like a train pulled in just then, and I'm like late now. I'm like, fuck, I'm gonna miss this flight, and I have a connection flight. So I'm like, God damn it. So I'm running through the subway station, get my metro ticket, jump on what looks like to be the yellow train that goes to the airport, jump on, double check the map. I'm going on the wrong train, on the green train. Thank God some nice man on the train was like, okay, good news. Green and yellow are perpendicular for 2 more stops. Jump off. I get off. Next train, yellow. Great. Get back on. Get to the airport. Run through. Only to find that my fucking plane is delayed by 3 hours. So I use one of my precious United Club passes to go in and drink and eat. Get in there, sit down, start working, because I'm still working. And then they announced that, oh, the flight's back on, 12:30. So now I've wasted a pass. Just flushed it down the toilet for 30 minutes of nothing. Get on the fucking plane. Delayed, again, sitting now on the tarmac an extra hour. Miss my connecting flight. Then have to go in and use a second, I only get 2 a year, a second United Club pass. Because now I'm just back at the airport waiting. God damn it. But why the fuck? None of this would happen to these fucking shit weasels. Well, not everything. I still would have missed a flight, but who the fuck closes all the roads down to the airport a day before Memorial Day? Why? There were giant steel garbage trucks lined up blocking all the streets off, like the ones that were used in Die Hard 3 with Samuel Jackson, where they're solving the water problems. And yet nobody was robbing the Federal Reserve. Why? Because there's no gold in it anymore. All right, guys. Thank you, everybody, for watching. I am Brian McWilliams. Please follow us on Twitter. Subscribe to the Lions of Liberty Network and John Odermatt. Again, if you want to hear what Jeremy Kauffman has to say, John, I think, setting that up right now. So if you want to hear the counter to this, please check out that show. Subscribe. Give us a review. And again, please, if you want to support us in any other way, Patreon and locals. All right, for me, Brian McWilliams from the Lions of Liberty Network, and from Mean Age Daydream, which I'm no longer allowed to live stream to because of a 1.5-year-old fucking interview, which YouTube has deemed to be against the government narrative. So watch me here. All right, from me, from the Lions of Liberty Network, keep those electric eyes on me, babe, and keep that ray gun to my head. Later.